Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mathis Show. Hope you're staying as warm as possible out there. I was kind of on the fence on exactly what I wanted to do today's show about. I had the idea of talking about redistricting in the back of my mind for a while now. It's been bouncing around the State House. It's been gotten a lot of media coverage. Honestly, I've held off on it up until now because, frankly, I don't think many of you really, truly care about it. Then I saw a Facebook post from Governor Wes Moore yesterday. At least it was being shared a lot yesterday. The governor actually pulled it off of his Facebook page, reading, "It's not lost on me that I'm the only black governor in this country and the only third black governor in this country's history. I will not be quiet while our federal government moves the goalpost, silences Marylanders' voices, and works to eliminate black leadership across the country." I got to tell you something, Governor, this is a huge mistake right now. As you're kind of in the beginning of this legislative session, you look at the cost of energy right now, reports coming out that there's a possibility of blackouts in Maryland, similar to what California had years ago, the unaffordability of vehicles, the unaffordability of almost anything. And while you have your approval ratings are going down, your disapproval ratings are going up, and you want to play the race card in this state, I think it's a huge mistake. I think it's a huge mistake. But then it shows actually what this whole redistricting thing is about. And it has nothing to do with fairness. We'll get to that in 1 second. That's a word that the governor, along with the entire Democratic Party, loves to use over and over. This is about getting in good graces with the National Democratic Party again. Like everything with this governor, it all comes back to Donald Trump. And I got to tell you something, even for my liberal friends out there, with everything going on in the state right now, honestly, do you care more about what's happening in your backyard or about what Trump is allegedly doing across the country? Even for those that have the most vitriolic hatred for this guy possible, and I know there are a lot of them out there, is that really what your number one concern is right now? And the governor finds himself in a little bit of a quagmire, nationally speaking, because even though he's the only black governor in the union, he was fast-tracked to be the next president. And not because of his race, not because of anybody holding him down, but because of his inability to lead and manage the state. And actually, it goes beyond that. It's his policies that have led us to the exact situation that we're in right now. I find it hilarious that he wants to cloak this redistricting thing in fairness. Right now in a state that has a little over 7 million people, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Republican in this state, you have one representative at the federal level, and that's Andy Harris in the 1st Congressional District. That is it. And that's a byproduct of years and years and years of redistricting. And I don't want to get too much in the weeds on this because I guarantee you, if you ask 10 people who their congressman is, they probably won't know. They don't know probably what legislative district they live in. They don't know what the role of Congress is. Hell, the 435 that serve on Capitol Hill barely know that, could pass a 5th grade civics class. But let's go ahead and talk about Maryland's 1st Congressional District for a second, which is Congressman Andy Harris, the only Republican congressman in the entire state. Because of the gerrymandering over the years, Congressman Harris's district covers everything from Cockeysville to the Eastern Shore. And I bring this up because the needs and what a constituent may need in Cockeysville is going to be totally different than that of what a farmer is going to need in the Eastern or further out on the Eastern Shore. But they're picking this issue right now because not just the governor, but the entire state legislature, which again is controlled by Democrats. We'll get to Senate President Bill Ferguson in 1 second. He's kind of ironically been the only voice of reason through this entire process. This is their big issue right now, is this redistricting. When you look at all the big marquee issues that are on the table right now, this is what they are focusing on. And then to interject the race issue into this, and by the way, look at how the whole reparations conversation went down not that long ago. It's a third rail of politics, man. Okay? And honestly, if you really believe about inequality in America, if that's really the injustice that you want to solve, start running your own house win the governorship again, which is getting more difficult by the day for you, and you probably could be president. But the reality is here, guys, I think he understands that because of the hole that he has dug us in, and make no mistake about it, I'm primarily talking about these electric bills that are hurting people big time right now, looking at possible rolling blackouts through the state, while there's a possibility of another winter blizzard, storm mix, whatever you want to call it, coming in this weekend. This is all a direct cause and result of the Democrats shutting down power plants, shutting down supply. Now, Bill Ferguson was on C4 Brian Neiman earlier today. He's talking about the constitutionality of this, talking about all of the consequences that come along with moving forward on this redistricting. It's not just redistricting. It will be challenged in the courts. Congressman Andy Harris has already said that when they tried this a couple years ago during the Hogan administration, it was challenged in the courts. It starts to move timetables and deadlines at the state when it comes to the upcoming election, whether that be the filing deadline. If this were to be approved, it would probably move the primary because these candidates have to be able to campaign in their new districts. Has nothing to do with fairness in a state of this size. To have 1/3 of it, which is what is made up of Republicans. I mean, all we hear is it goes 2-1 Democrat. So I'm not sure how good you are at math, but that leaves 1/3 is Republican, would be completely unrepresented at the federal level. And whether it is the bridge, they're blaming the power thing, by the way, on President Trump because he was anti the new Green Deal, which is one of the reasons why our power costs have been such a disaster. And Bill Ferguson, even though he has been the voice of reason, honestly, on this redistricting, when he was asked about the power cost, he was talking about because there's not enough solar out there. So they're continuing to double down on the very initiatives that got us into this in the first place. And I just found it, first of all, the governor on that Facebook post that I wrote after he got roughly 500 comments, I don't know what they are because he pulled it off his own page. If you really believe this, then stand by it. And again, I saw it kind of being, regurgitated yesterday on Facebook. He's backing off that. He's tying back into fairness. And here's the thing, okay? Yes, the Democrats have always done a great job of cloaking themselves in fairness, whether it's on the racial thing, it's the gay thing, it's immigrants, it's the poor. They've always cloaked themselves in compassion. Well, who's really being hurt by these energy costs right now? Who is being hurt by all of these policies that the Democrats have pushed through at the state level? It is the poor. So if Governor Moore were really that indignant about it, he would be figuring out a way, forget even keeping energy affordable right now. That was yesterday's problem. Even if you got the money, they're talking about not being able to keep the power on because of lack of supply, because of these AI centers that are draining an amazing amount of power, because we shut down coal fire plants. And here's the thing, even if you believe that renewable energy is the future and you believe that solar is the future and wind, wouldn't it make sense to get that infrastructure up to speed before shutting down multiple coal fire plants? Wouldn't that be the pragmatic thing to do? But I think the reason why the governor is focusing on this redistricting, it really is twofold. It's number one, to reestablish himself as a team player at the national level within the Democratic Party. And number two, to have some sort of sideshow right now. And by the way, for the most part, it's working. You look at this horrible week that we have had weather-wise, in the media, the big conversation has been redistricting. And I'm not saying it's not significant, especially if you live in the first and there's a chance that if this new map that is making its way through the state house were to get approved, that you could lose your congressman. Bill Ferguson believes actually this could backfire and the Republicans could pick one up. I find that hard to believe, but that's been his concern on it. But even if you're somebody that would be affected by this, generally speaking, is this what you want the state legislature to be focusing on right now? But it has been a little bit of a follow the shiny thing down in Annapolis. And especially as we continue to get through this session, as they continue to reallocate money to play follow the ball and the tin cup thing with the budget. That was another question that came up today. This C fund, which kind of reminds me a little bit of the Transportation Trust Fund. If you remember back during the O'Malley administration, whenever they needed to find money to swap into the general fund, that was always through the Transportation Trust Fund. The C fund seems to evidently have roughly $600 to $700 million in it, depending on who you ask. One senator is saying it was close to $1 billion. And I think Bill Ferguson kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit with Brian Neiman today, saying, look, we're going to use this money, which is collected through energy use. We're going to use it as a rebate to give back to the consumer, specifically residential, because people that are running businesses, these high energy costs don't affect them. Sarcasm, by the way. Well, what he's saying is the reason they have the rebate is because you're taking the money to begin with. And sure, the demand on the grid is high right now because you shut down power plants. So yeah, there's more drain on the grid, meaning more money is going into this fund, and they're not just using it for rebates. It really is the new go-to fund that they can transfer money out of. But the money is ending up there because of distribution cost that you're paying on your energy bill. The C fund is one of the reasons why your energy bills are as high as they are. So I understand that you can't throw a nuclear power plant up overnight or immediately restart a coal fire plant, but you absolutely could stop flushing money on a monthly basis from the consumer into this fund that, by the way, nobody was even aware of until recently. And the only reason we're aware of it is because energy has become so unaffordable. And now there's such a drain on the grid for a variety of reasons, but most notably weather right now, that forget how much you pay, maybe looking at blackouts. Our energy costs right now, ladies and gentlemen, surpass that of California. California has never been the benchmark of what we strive to be when it comes to an economy, one that's upside down by $30 billion. We've never strived to be that. And then yet, look at it. Right now, they're upside down by $30 billion. Our energy cost surpassed that of California. And you know what? Whether you're a liberal, you're a Republican, within the 1st Congressional District right now, and I will make this point in closing, there's a lot of agriculture. There's a lot of conservatives. And that's why it's ridiculous that you have a congressman, nothing against Andy Harris, but that you have a congressman that is representing both Timonium, Lutherville, Cockeysville, Hunt Valley. I mean, I can't even keep all the areas straight right now, all the way to the Eastern Shore. There's a reason why the House of Representatives has been called the People's House, because it's most accountable to the people. And we've talked about this in the past, but it's true. So it's hard for a congressman to be representing the needs of constituents in an area like Lutherville and also doing it with big ag out in Salisbury. And now they're trying to gerrymander it even more. And here's the other thing. For the people that hate how divisive we've become politically, a big part of that is because of gerrymandering and the way they cut around streets. If you really want to see how much of a thing this is, go ahead and run for office, okay? And really start paying attention to the maps, because it is almost comical. They literally will cut up and down individual streets depending on what your party affiliation is. So if you want to go and, hold some water for the Democratic Party, Governor Moore, knock your socks off. I understand you've had a bad run at it recently and it's only getting worse. And the best thing in your arsenal is Donald Trump. And go ahead, continue to beat up on him. I'm sure within Democratic circles in Washington, your name is not playing real well. You could lose this gubernatorial election. You should lose this gubernatorial election. And you have nothing to run on at all other than you don't like Donald Trump. And you really think, even if you're the biggest Trump hater out there, you think you're going to keep Donald Trump in check because you're getting rid of Andy Harris of all people? And I know Congressman Harris has been a supporter of Trump, the only one in the state. And by the way, in all fairness, how much of an issue is Trump in Maryland right now? I mean, seriously. Is it, you can blame everything you want on Trump. Is it Trump's fault that we can't afford BG&E bills? Is it Trump's fault that they just doubled the cost of emissions on our vehicles? Is it Trump's fault that our schools have been failing ever since I've been alive in a very affluent part of the country? Is it Trump's fault that you can't park your car downtown without it getting broken into? That when you drive through downtown, it's nothing but graffiti? Even the nice areas look like the hood. I mean, is that Trump's fault? Really? I mean, at what point, as the top guy in the state, do you take accountability, responsibility for anything or put any ideas on the table? Can anybody name a real piece of legislation? They're talking about some goofy power bill, and we'll get into the weeds on that, but it's smoke and mirrors like all this stuff is. And what are they doing? They're not balancing the budget. I mean, look, I said last week, if they're saying that they're not going to raise taxes, we should do a whole show on this, by the way. If they're not going to raise taxes and they're looking at roughly, again, nobody knows what the number is, but roughly a $1.5 billion deficit, and you're not going to raise taxes and you're not going to raise fees and you're not going to make cuts. And how do you balance the books? Well, the dirty little secret is coming out on that. You balance the books on these slush funds that have an awful lot of money in it, and this C fund is the biggest one, which is being paid by the consumers every single month. The same way the Transportation Trust Fund was being paid every time you put gas in the car, and that was being sold as a user fee. The more gas you use, the more you're driving. The more you're driving, the more damage you do to the road. So you got to pay your fair share. And until recently, was anybody familiar with the C fund? And my question is, how many other C funds are there out there? Because I would imagine the C fund, and I don't know, but I'm just speculating, was tied into environmental, was tied into renewable energy. And who's paying for it? Anybody that tries to turn their lights on right now. Go look at your bill. Okay, yes, the commodities is a big part of it. So is your distribution cost and all the little fees and all the money that's tied into that. And they have some audacity, I'll tell you, so we learn about the C fund. They take money out of your monthly energy bill, okay? They rack the rates up to the point where they're not affordable, and then they act like they're doing you some big favor because they give back a little bit of the money that you gave to them as an interest-free loan that they weren't good stewards of. And then these guys are going to act like they're fiscally responsible because they didn't raise taxes? I mean, what do you think these distribution charges are? Sure, some of them are legit. You need cables, you need telephone poles. I got it. But how does, as a state that is growing, population grows, we haven't built a new nuclear power plant in well over 40 years in this country. The ones that are here locally, I don't know how old they are. I mean, it is really an implosion from within. So you want to screw us, but please don't cloak it in fairness when you're going to take 1/3 of the population and make sure that they have no representation that is in harmony with their ideology. Please, Governor, don't frame that as fairness. Just say that you don't like Trump and you want to buddy up with the Democratic Party at a national level. Okay, I'm not saying that wouldn't bother some people, but they may kind of respect your honesty. Be honest that you and your party have dug such a hole in this state that you can't get out of it. There's no easy solution to this energy issue that was self-inflicted. Wasn't necessary. Like most things in this state. And I'll say this for the last time, okay? But you want to go and cloak yourself as, the new civil rights leader of our time here, okay? God bless you. But the people that you're really hurting are people of color, minorities, elderly. Those are the people that you're really hurting on this energy thing, Governor. The rich people are annoyed. They're not happy with what they're paying, but they're not making decisions on whether they're going to put food on the table or keep the lights on. So these people that you have so much compassion for, those are the ones that you're really hurting, where you're making it unaffordable for a regular person to own a motor vehicle. That's you. It's not Trump. That's you. Trump's not raising the registration fees. He's not raising emissions. He's not raising tolls. You can blame, it's not Trump's fault on the bridge. You can blame Trump on that, but it's not. And I'll tell you, you really want this top job in Washington. I can respect that, but you may want to get some leadership 101 down and taking some accountability, because this is not going to lead you to the promised land. And that chart that we threw up last week, it is the gubernatorial election, which is Wes Moore's approval plummeting, the unapproval accelerating. And when you pull crap like this on the race card, which is probably why you pulled it off your Facebook page as quick as you did, but hate to break it to you, in the digital world, they do screen grabs. And, once it's out there, it's out there. All that's going to do is energize your disapproval rating. It's not going to help you on the other end of that power curve. It's just not. I've said this from the very beginning. This is not going to be an election that is about identity politics. Some elections are. That boys need to go into girls' bathrooms and gay marriage and whatever. But you can't make that what the election's about when people can't put food on the table and the lights are going off when it's 4 degrees outside, Governor. And what, you're more concerned about gerrymandering? And look, and I'm not minimizing this, by the way, okay? And let's be very clear. This is not something that is unique to Democrats. The Republicans are just as guilty of it, okay? So I fully understand that. I do. But right now, where we're at in this state, is the governor more concerned about gerrymandering wherever, okay, or how many black governors or wherever? We have one here, which seems to be going great, by the way, my friend. Why don't you worry about that? Because the people that you represent, okay, in all fairness, are the 7.2 million in Maryland and not the 340 million or whatever it is nationally right now. So again, what you're saying, and these are your own words, is you're turning your back on your own state for the national good, which nobody really believes. So anyway, everybody, try to stay warm. Always appreciate your time here on the Jimmy Mathis Show. You can check us out on all the usual platforms: YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, any of the places that your podcasts live. Obviously, Facebook, X, Rumble, if I didn't already say that. You can email me, jimmymathisonair@gmail.com. Keep following us on Facebook for updates. Everybody take care, be safe, try to stay warm. See you next time. Bye.